Hello, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to the Liberty Report. With us today, we have Chris Rossini, co-host. Chris, welcome to the program.
Happy Friday. Great to be with you, Dr.
Very
Paul.
good. I want to start off with what I do frequently on Friday. We talk a little bit about gold markets. You know, gold is, for some people, is down a little bit here compared to when we started buying gold again and legalized back in 1975. It's gone up a bit. Back then it was $35 an ounce. But people get worried about that. But it actually is a pretty good time for people who have been thinking about shifting their stocks, which are doing very well, at least in the sense that maybe there's a bubble there. But it might be a good time to take some of that out and put it into gold IRAs. And because we've recommended that for quite a while, along with Birch Gold, because they have a program and they can describe what to do and how to help individuals that have a desire to do this. So the gold IRA, if you want some information on that, it's not difficult. If you text Ron at 989-9898, you can get this information, and that would help you get started. And that, to me, is very important, because that is something that you just can't go to a regular IRA and put your gold in there. This is going to hold the real gold. A lot of people have been doing this, and in 1975, gold wasn't even legal, but now I think it's healthy that more people own gold, and they can own gold in various manners. But this is one way where people who have used the government organized IRAs and 401ks can take that money and put it in this, and you would own bullion gold. So that's another way to protect. So I think this is very important. So remember the number, text Ron 989898 and get free information. Describe how you can get more involved with gold IRAs. And Chris, I want to go to you for a minute too. I think you have an announcement along these lines of investing.
Yes, and while nobody is committed to buying or doing anything other than getting information, if you do decide to use Birch Gold, they are holding a special promotion from now until Black Friday. You will receive a free 1-ounce Silver Eagle coin for every $5,000 that you invest in anything. So that's their promotion. We'll be mentioning it until Black Friday. Now, our topic today, Dr. Paul, a lot of excitement in the United States for the latest cabinet pick, and that is for RFK Jr. being announced to Trump's cabinet as at the Department of Health and Human Services. I personally was excited too for that, because I think he's excellent guy for the job. We want to qualify a few things though on this show. We are libertarians. We believe in personal responsibility. And we're all responsible for what we consume, whether it be medicines or foods. And a lot of bad habits have been formed over the years in our country, and many people don't prioritize health at all, and that's their prerogative. We're all in charge of our own health. But at the same time, the government has not been our ally when it comes to health. It seems more than they've proven to us that they're almost like an enemy, and that has to change. There has been a lot of corruption, a lot of corporatism, and RFK is not going to have it. And that's a very good thing to have. Personally, when I go to the supermarket, if you go and look at all the ingredients of stuff and you read stuff, it's like a chemical soup. I mean, this has not been, just in my own lifetime, what food has been like in the United States. It has definitely changed. A lot of stuff you can't even pronounce. You need to go on your phone and look up, what is this stuff that's in our food? So that has to change, in my opinion, and hopefully RFK Jr. will help in that direction.
Very good. I find that this department is a lot bigger than I realized. I know it was big, but it is huge. But of course, RFK was picked because of his interest in pharmaceuticals, and that, of course, came to light. And he has a good reputation on explaining and warning people about, especially the injections, the shots, and because there's a lot of complications with that, and people have not been warned. We saw that, and we continue to see the problems with the vaccines that were pushed on the people by the FDA and other companies and Fauci to take these shots, and yet they're still hysterical. And as a matter of fact, they want to even use that against RFK because he was warning people against that. I happen to believe a lot of his warnings are true, and he was a strong opponent to what Fauci was saying and doing, and I think he's much closer to the target. I don't have a position, and I don't think Robert Kennedy has this position that never take a vaccination. I don't think that's not his position, but being careful in what's going on and looking into the pharmaceuticals, and I think that is so necessary, because in a way, what type of system do we have now? We don't have free market medicine for sure. Even in my lifetime as a doctor, I graduated in 1960. At that time, we didn't have Medicare and Medicaid, and it was some insurance, but it was so different at the time. Now it morphed into something else. I call it, a corporate-run system, and it's not socialism, it's not free market, it's corporatism. And if you look into this, you'll find out the corporations have a lot of clout and they make a lot of money. And a good verification of this is the fact that, after RFK was appointed and announced by Trump, the stocks went down. Why was that? It's because they're totally dependent on the government. And what you mean cracking down on these pharmaceuticals? They get investment money, they get distribution, they send things through quickly to benefit some people and hurt other people. It's just a manipulation for the benefit of the corporation. But the one that I like the least is the fact that the Congress have made them exempt from liability. Because if you want to work toward a market delivery of medication, yes, they wouldn't get off scot-free. If you're passing out junk, you say, oh yeah, but the FDA protects us. Yeah, like the FDA and managed medicine and Dr. Fauci protected us from the COVID fiasco. So that isn't the case. But in a free market, the corporations are responsible if they sell dangerous drugs. But they're hysterical about it because there's a lot of profits made, and it's a form of corporatism, and that is what we have to attack. And I know you can't do that overnight. It's going to take some time, but that is something that has to be done, and I think Robert Kennedy is the right person to get this started because it's going to be a big task, and he needs the support because there's going to be a lot of hate and a lot of big money against what he's doing. Chris?
Yes, excellent, Dr. Paul. Yeah, the COVID and the COVID vaccines, that is the big one, perhaps the biggest one in history, global in scale. And we all remember the name vaccine was changed. They started changing the meaning. Well, it doesn't mean what it used to mean before. And people were repeating this. We all dealt with it. The bar kept moving. Well, it'll keep you out of the hospital, and it didn't do that either. Oh, well, it'll keep you from dying. It didn't do that either. And then finally, they were just totally exhausted out of excuses. I remember this so clearly. Here comes the Ukraine war. Yeah. And all the hoopla, all the Ukraine flags everywhere. It's all you could see. They were selling Ukraine T-shirts at my airport. And all of a sudden, all the COVID people that were 24 hours a day in our face, they all just scattered into the shadows, never to be seen again. Where did all these people go? RFK needs to get to the bottom of this. Nobody was punished for anything. And what a disaster on a global scale. So I'm sure he's going to be focusing, I'm hoping, there. Also, Senator Rand Paul. How many times have we seen him asking questions and like, oh yeah, sure, Senator, we'll get you that information. We'll get right on that for you. For nothing, Hopefully the tide has turned, because what they did during COVID and with those so-called vaccines, the justice has to be done there.
Very good. The other things that I came across, and this has been been known, RFK had some beliefs that energized me because they were somewhat removed from the vaccine, but it shows that he was coming, in many ways. Matter of fact, he asked to be on our program, and he's come to our conferences, so we've stayed friendly with him. That does not mean that he declares and we accept him as a dedicated, perfect libertarian. No, but he's very helpful, and he's very thoughtful and very smart, and his goals are very worthy. But the one thing that I came across that I liked was he was a strong opponent and has been an opponent of the Ukraine war. So that tells you something about his character and the proper use of government. But the other thing that he has worked on for years, and we've talked to him about this, that and we were disappointed that in the first tour for Trump, he didn't release all the papers on the JFK files, because they're still there and they're still supposed to come out. So I think with JFK around there, even though that's not dealing with vaccines, I think he can have an influence, because we ought to know the truth. Because since that time of the assassinations in the 60s, we have seen the Justice Department just disintegrate and be used as a political tool. And matter of fact, the people have discovered that, and I think that's why there was a big change in the electorate, and the people who decided to change parties. So I think that's all very good. But as far as these vaccines go, there's a lot of people that don't quite understand that. They say it's so dangerous if you don't have your vaccine. I would say it's so dangerous if you keep taking them. So, like I say, I'm not against all vaccines, but boy, I'm due for caution. But I don't think the government is cautious. We can't say, well, the government's going to solve this. We need safety. We need protection. We don't need bad drugs. On and on. We need somebody taking care of it. But we've had that now for years and years, and look at the result. The result is COVID and Fauci. So this is the reason that, yes, we have to try to undermine all that nonsense and point out and restrain the benefits that corporations get, from special legislation. And that to me would be helpful a lot. But ultimately, it should be the people, the patients, the families making these decisions. But, the one principle that when we get too much government in some area, the excuse always, even, for defense and foreign policy, make us safe. We have to be safe. Do whatever you have to. Make us safe. After 9/11, make us safe. Well, yes, we want to be safe, but can the government do it? Right now, more people think the government lies to us. They lie to us about the JFK assassination. The government lies to us, and if during the audits and all, they have always they put it in there, and they say, well, if you don't recite the government's line, we're going to cancel you, and they work with this. So it was the destruction of dissemination of good information. That to me is very bad, and I think we're going to see an improvement in that. But I think people should think a little bit about, can the government make us safe? And will they use that as a tool to expand the government? So, and the government has made a point here that they certainly haven't done the job. We have to do what we can to improve the situation, but ultimately, in a free society, the people make the difference between, safety or not safety. And you say, well, they won't always make the right decision. That is correct. But maybe the Dr. Fauci's of the world might not make a decision. And look at what harm they can do. So I would say, no, for the most part, the people can make these decisions. And during this period of time, one of the largest disappointment for me was the destruction of the doctor-patient relationship. And that's where the trust should come from. But right now, it's all corporatism. So the enemy, from my viewpoint, is corporatism, where the corporations take over, and it can lead to a lot worse offense and by the corporations if this is not in check. So that's what I see that RFK doing. Check this, get the information out, and why we can't be totally dependent. Oh, it's okay, we'll just change the leader here and they'll make it safe for us and we won't have to worry. That doesn't happen that way. And that doesn't happen when you come to trying to protect your finances. The government's always trying to protect us, and, from all kinds of financial problems. And look at what we're facing now. So I would say that we have every reason to believe that RFK is going to do a lot of help, and I think support for him is very good. But we also can point out that there's a point in time where it is not possible for the government to do what they claim they're doing. Perfect medicine, perfect education, perfect health. Well, they may be goals, but that comes with the involvement of individuals participating in their own safety. Chris?
Dr. Paul, excellent. I will finish up. First, picking up where you left off, you're absolutely right. There is no perfect safety. We live in a world of uncertainty. We all have our own knowledge, our own perceptions, how we interpret events, and we have to live with risk. It's something that we cannot get rid of no matter how hard we try. We could make things worse, though. Since there's risk, you would want bad decisions to be localized, down to even the individual. If an individual makes a bad decision, you don't want the whole world to suffer. But what has happened, and it has been going on for hundreds of years now, is the consolidation into these massive states and massive corporations. And now when the decisions are made by an individual like Fauci, now everybody suffers. The bad decision is not localized. Everybody has to suffer. So we need massive decentralization in our society. This has happened before. There was massive decentralization after the Roman Empire fell. It was all localized. Okay, and again, that doesn't mean there's perfection on earth, because that will never happen either. But you want the problems to be local. Not everybody suffers because some guy across the world made a bad decision. And that's what we live in now, and we need to break out of it somehow. And our big issues are the Fed, first, the military-industrial complex, and this medical industry. And Trump, we've been covering his picks this week. When it comes to the military, it's a little sketchy on what he's done. We don't know what he's thinking. But some of the people that he has chosen are people who think the opposite of what he has stated in his campaign and what he was elected on. But appearances are appearances. It's only actions that count. So we'll hope that President Trump follows through on good actions rather than the way things look. Now, RFK, the appearance is great. It's in line with what everybody wants, what Trump has proposed. We have free speech on X. The mainstream media is dying, laying off. They're distrusted. They've lied about everything for so many years, and that's wonderful because they have been the engine that has brainwashed everybody into all their wars and into COVID. And the fact that they have been weakened is a net plus for everybody. So things are looking up. We must remember, though, that our opponents, they will not just sit around and let everything change. They will fight it tooth and nail. They have lived off of us. They want to continue living off of us and don't want their lifestyles to change. So there's many battles ahead, but I say things are definitely looking up.
Very good. We we can understand how the military and industrial complex is huge, and there's various parts to it, and they're very good lobbyists, and they have a lot of money, and they make a lot of war profits, and that is one way they can influence Congress, and they're very intimidating, and in many ways, you wonder where could the people come from, to start lobbying, Congress for pharmaceuticals? How did they get that much control? How did Health and Human Services get so big? And they're really in charge of all of medicine, Medicare and Medicaid. But the lobbying effort came from various groups, and they banded together. They were natural allies. The one is a lot of people would be surprised, but organized medicine, the medical profession, the people in the specialties and the organizations that promote good medicine, they were very much in favor of the government coming in and helping. And that of course, helped get more people, well, if the doctors are for this, we better do it. But they weren't the doctors that were practicing medicine. They were the doctors that were running, big hospital and medical facilities. The insurance companies were the lobbyists too as well. The insurance companies, wanted protection. And just think how many complaints do you hear about the cost of medical insurance now? And it just seems like a lot of people, are frustrated with that, and they should be, because it's totally, plain old inflation causes some of that. But at other times, it's a special interest, for the insurance company, because everybody has to have the insurance, and we have to make it safe. And we don't want socialized medicine, so we want a corporatism. We want a combination of the corporations and government, so we can avoid this socialism. Well, that's been a big mistake. The other thing are the same individual drug companies. When they can see that if you have friends at the FDA, they can speed up the agreement to release drugs, and they can hinder them. They're bureaucratic, and they might be slow just because they're bureaucratic. But drug companies have a lot to say about it, and they invest a lot of money in their lobbyists, because it's a big deal if you get a drug that gets a stamp of approval from the FDA. Those stocks skyrockets in days because it's artificial. The market is not really determining that value. It's determining how well the lobbyists work to get their special answers. But there was another group that was quite willing to lobby too, because they were told they had to have this government help in all these areas because they needed to be safe from diseases. We need help. The consumer needs help to protect us from expensive things. So it was all designed for the consumers. So consumer groups have been, and they're still in favor of it because they're totally dependent on it. They just wish prices weren't so high and it was more efficient. But in my short lifetime, I saw a lot of people that practice medicine, with the idea that doctor-patient relationship was very important. But now that isn't the case. The relationship is the patient and the corporate area, who may run the hospital system and the insurance system. It's a mess, and that's what I hope we're starting right now with RFK becoming head of the HHS, to move in the direction of not depending on the government to solve all these problems. They can't give us perfect health, and they can't give us perfect safety. I'd like them to work a lot harder in giving us a more perfect system of liberty, and then we could solve these problems by ourselves. I want to thank everybody for tuning in today to the Liberty Report. Please come back soon.